as the Google lady said yesterday, we stand between you and cocktails. So, but I'd like to ask Paul to come on up to introduce our first speaker. And on your way up, Paul, everybody's asking me about the fish, and I lost the shark. It's up there, okay? It was traumatic, okay? So I don't know it'll come down. But we ordered, this is an online story, okay? I saw a Facebook advertisement for these fish, and it was really cool because they swam around, okay? And I said, I have to have those fish so that we can have them here for Valencia to get you excited about Valencia. Well, needless to say, I bought it from a U.S. firm who ordered it from China. They came 11 weeks later, and they don't work. So that's something for Facebook advertising. You got me to buy. But anyways, so Paul, come on up.
Hi, everyone. I introduced this session last year, and it proved to be very popular, so it's nice to have it back on the agenda again. London is almost certainly recognized these days as probably the in place where it all happens from the point of view of startups, particularly digital startups in Europe. And Simon Devonshire, who you saw yesterday, is widely reported as saying it's probably the most vibrant startup scene outside of Silicon Valley. And to talk a little bit more about it, I'm delighted that we've got with us this afternoon John Spindler, who is the founder of Capital List and also Capital Enterprise, which is one of the big incubators here in London. There are many incubators and accelerators for digital talent. And Idea London, which is where John is from, is one of the best. And I'm delighted that he's here. So I'd like you to put your hands together and welcome John Spindler.
PF, that was interesting, wasn't it? John's from the PF of... Hi, I'm going to talk about Capital Enterprise, and I'm going to talk a little bit about London. And last Wednesday, there's a thing called Startup Genome. If you want to know about tech, if you want to know about startups, you want to know about ecosystems, they do a thing every 2 years to rank every ecosystem. And for the last 12 years, you won't be surprised that Silicon Valley is number one. Who wouldn't be? But this year, basically, across the world, London's number 3. You're in the third best, largest tech ecosystem in the world. And in 2009, London employed roughly around 50,000 people in tech, and now it employs over 350,000. And it will take over financial services at the present rate. To such an extent that when I was with Goldman Sachs recently, they insisted that they're a tech firm and not a bank, because they now employ 3 times as many technologists as they do bankers. And that's the world, and that's probably the world you're in as well. Is, as Mark Andreessen said, software is eating the world, and every year it looks to happen even faster at a greater pace. So I'm going to here to tell you about what I do and what I'm seeing and why it's interesting and why it may be impacting on your businesses as well. So why is London Europe's number 1 tech ecosystem? And we're at it by far, and since obviously something happened yesterday, and you're in London, I'm now obliged, basically by pain of death or being locked up in the Tower of London, to basically keep saying that the UK is fine and doing well, and kind of, yes, we love Europe, but we possibly could kind of live without it. Maybe not, but maybe so. So why? Well, we have a very open and supportive business environment. It's very easy to start a business here. It's very low regulation. One of the reasons why the fintech capital of possibly of the world is because our regulators are very supportive. We're very supportive in data. It's a great environment. We don't have the restrictions you will have in data in countries, for better or worse, like Germany, for instance. We have number 1 talent pool in Europe. People forget that London is a city of 8.5 million in a 50-mile radius of a population of 30. It basically has 5.5 million people working at any one day. There is no other talent pool like it in Europe. There's no other city like Europe. Even bigger cities like Istanbul and Moscow do not have that working population. So even 350,000 techies in London is still not that much when you realise how many people work here. And some of you here probably come to London a lot of times, some of you are based here, but it's a unique city. And that means that we have not just the talent for your industry, but we have the talent for tech. We also have great universities, UCL, Imperial, Oxford, Cambridge, all within 50-mile radius. We have basically kind of one of the largest European markets, and one of the things you'll see in London is that basically that there is a tech cluster in virtually every sector. Mad tech, market and advertising, fintech, med tech, virtually everything you can put before tech has a tech cluster around it. And finally, availability of risk capital, which is great. We are in the land of the one-eyed monster, basically the king, because we have probably the most capital. It's the biggest weakness we have compared to the States, is we still don't have enough. There's still a massive capital gap, but we do. So I want to mention that because the key thing is about why startups are really interesting is they're really a phrase for a guy called Gary Hempel, the hidden competitor. I mean, Gary Hempel basically has been making money for Harvard for years and years by going to conferences and pointing out that the competitor that's likely to bring you down is presently you don't know where they are, they're in a garage somewhere, they're producing something with a metaphorical gun, and in that gun there's a metaphorical bullet, and in the name on that metaphorical bullet is your company. And if you're not aware of what's going on in the startup world, you are basically behind the curve. You may know what your competitors are doing in detail, but unless you know what's coming up behind you, basically you could be in trouble. And that gentleman, kind of, in his 80s, but still a colossus apparently, still taking on the world, as he said, the world is changing very fast, big will not beat small anymore, it will be the fast beating the slow. And the great thing about startups, you're going to see some, is their ability to iterate really quickly. Don't look at the products today, look at the products that will be in 6 to 9 months. It will be 3 times as best, maybe 4 times. On the thing as an investor, and I'll tell you what we do later, we have one thing we know when the startup comes to see us with their product, is that product is wrong. It's not that good. And we're betting on that ability of that team to make it better. So, what do you need to start a great business? And when I do this, normally I get everyone to stand up and looking at you, it's an afternoon, and see if you've all got these 3 things. And see how many startups you potentially have in the room. Can I get you all to stand up? Go on. Okay, all stand up and then sit down if you kind of base it out. Who here has good people that they know? Good, you've all got good people. Who can make something customers actually want? Good. And who wants to spend as little money as possible to start their business? I have a room of entrepreneurs. There's a guy called Paul Graham, founder of a thing called Y Combinator, which probably needs no introduction. So what are the business best startups? And this is, again, we don't know. There's no guru in startups. This is an information opaque area. And as an investor, and we'll tell you what we do in a moment, we're always looking at where they are. And today you'll see a selection of 4 startups. And generally, they follow some of this. They have some kind of product, a target customer. They're a capital efficient business. They primarily have an internet-based distribution model, simple revenue models. They need to have at least most of this. So people ask me, what do you look for? And this is us. So Capital Enterprise is 3 or 4 things. It's really quite unique. First of all, we're a membership group of organisations. My members include universities, like the ones I mentioned before, UCL, Imperial, etc. They involve accelerators, like Techstars and C Camp and Entrepreneur First, then called Spaces, and we all come together to support entrepreneurs. This is the unique thing. It's why Startup Name said we were #1 for the support in the world, because we've managed to get them all networked together, working together to support startups. We have a program to fund them. We fund 14 accelerators in London at the moment, so we have this kind of big pipeline, and if you haven't seen them, this is where a lot of the great businesses come in. We have a fund, we have a kind of a £85 million fund. We're investing in about 150 startups. Basically, last year, slightly below this year, last year we were the #1 investor in the UK and #3 in Europe in seed. We said to make the investments, last year we made about 50 investments, 48 actually, so almost 1 a week. And and to do that, we had to see about 1,400 businesses, see how kind of many we had to kind of go through to find those, and we also broker to other investors. Here's some of the partners we work with. We're also the tech scout for those 3 organisations, so those 3 organisations pay me to go and find early stage tech companies to collaborate with. I talked about London Co-Investment Fund a little bit. That was our first investment. Do you know who that gentleman is on the left? He's our Foreign Secretary. But he was the Mayor of London, and a large source of the money that I basically invest came because I borrowed £25 million from that man to to invest in businesses in London. So I just mentioned about London, and that was our first one called Dojo, which is in intention for a journey in itself. And this is the portfolio we've invested in to date, and I'll mention some of those companies because what's happened in London since I've been investing as London Co-Investment Fund since January 2015 is I think symbolic of what you're going to be seeing in the next year or two. It's a journey that we have gone on as well. We've invested in some marketing companies like Driftwalk, Dual, MyAppy. We've invested in platforms like Live Better with Cancer, fantastic platform if you have cancer to find basically the right nutritions and sort. Finance companies like Curve, marketplaces like Urban Massage. If you've been on London Tube, basically you would have seen that. That's where my money's going. But all the ones on the top, which is we start to invest in, are all machine learning AI companies. So Desktop Genetics is an AI company in CRISPR technology, which is basically artificially generating CRISPRs, which are gene basically maps, which basically are used in big pharma. Data Loop are a basic data management system, basically again using machine learning. Guru is an AI assistant. Flock is a drone company using machine learning. Memgraph is a graph database company using machine learning. I could go on and on. And since the summer, we've invested in 22 businesses, of which 12 have been machine learning companies. And what has happened is you've had a kind of sea change in the nature of startups in the last 18 months in London, and I think probably in the last 12 months in most places, is that basically the future is now machine learning and AI. Virtually every startup we see now needs to have some capacity in that area to be able to compete, and if they're trying to compete on it, so should you. So we've basically re-engineered ourselves. So we have basically a program with UCL Engineering to basically accelerate and support them. We have a service that we do with Google, Cisco, RBS, and quite a few more. We have a new AI seed fund. We're just launching that next week, just to put 100k checks into 20 AI companies. And we have basically a big research initiative with the Alan Turing Institute, which is the UK's AI institute, with the Digital Catapult, which is the UK's digital catapult area, and actually with Bart's Health Trust, because a lot of the things that we are doing is actually in well-being and health, as well as the obvious ones in finance, in advertising, etc. So why machine learning? Why are we, as an investor, basically investing in startups using machine learning? Well, simply, in many ways, to be honest, because we think it's the way that incumbents are weak, and startups are stronger. We always look for markets where incumbents are going to be threatened, but they can't carry on doing the same behaviour they did before. Because if it's the same behaviour, you win. The incumbents win all the time. It's when something happens, it means that the pattern they have, the relationship with their customers changes, and they need to change as well. And when the advantages and the assets they may have built up over decades, centuries, no longer become assets, they can become liabilities, and they can be outcompeted by a startup. So basically what's happened in AI machine learning, we had a winter, it went over, it broke. There's been big R&D breakthroughs in neural networks, regressive learning, in generative adversarial networks. All of these basically things means it's the reason why you are now hearing things called autonomous cars emerging and other things such as those. And these developments only happened 4 or 5 years ago. People forget Google only adopted machine learning at the end of 2013, 2014. Before then, it didn't, and that's probably one of the world's leading companies. So anyone who says, I've been doing this for 10 years, they've been doing it under a form of basically structured, statistical-based machine learning, and that now is being superseded. Availability of mass real-time data sets. The world now is all data. You have a mobile phone that churns out data. You have the cloud that churns out data. You have virtually masses of data coming from Internet of Things. You are now churning out lots of data. The data sets are getting big and they're available. We have cheap hardware and cloud connectivity. We have adoption by big tech companies into increasing competitiveness. Every single one of the top, apart from Exxon, the top 5 companies on the American Stock Exchange now define themselves as a mission statement that they are a machine learning company. What do they know? Why, and they are doing be AI or die strategies. If you don't get it, you're dead. And so I'm not laying it on too much, hopefully, and there'll be a lot of fate for it, but there is obviously something going on here. And the new categories of products, autonomous cars, AI assistants, predictive health devices, predictive anything, which is coming through. And there's this thing called the data network effect. More data, better deep learning features, better insights, more customers. So more data, better product, better satisfied customers, more customers. And people say, well, what's the moat, what's the protection, what's the defense? This is kind of a first mover advantage in many ways. You don't want to be left behind. And machine learning enterprise model, unfortunately some of my arrows are not up there, so I'll try and explain it first, how it kind of works if you want to. Don't know if this is the right audience. You start off with needing to find the right data, to collect it, prepare it, clean it, label it, annotate it before you can do anything. And quite frankly, for most of you, that's going to be a big problem, is you won't have clean data sets. 90% of a data scientist's job is doing that. And that's why it can be difficult to scale. Second is you're going to have the description layer. You're going to describe and analyze the relationship between multiple data points and trying to extract patterns and insights. And that's where you may want to stop. You might say, actually, I just want to know about my customers. When do they buy? What do they buy? What were they doing before they bought? What was the relationship, basically, with the person they bought the goods with? All of these factors you may want to analyze. Just knowing that may be sufficient for you to radically make your company more effective. You've got the prediction layer. You may want to know then what happens next. What are the conditions when they buy, when will they, basically, etc. You've got the prescription layer, which may be saying, giving you actions to do. Do this, don't do this. And you have the automation layer, which is cutting most of it out of the equation and doing it automatically, including myself. And that's the kind of journey we're on. And when people say people are going to get automated out, you can see what that kind of process. It's not linear. It looks linear. It doesn't have to happen like that. But that's just a very simplified model. So I was asked to say, what's going on in London? Why is it interesting? Why are you going to see some interesting companies here? And I'm going to probably shut up there and say, this is Capital Enterprise. This is what we do. And thank you for the time.
Thank you. It was interesting. I'd like to open to questions. I have a question. I'm going to put
I almost got away there free.
A little bit negatively. So you talked about what you look at startups and what you say to them. How do you know that a startup is not right? You probably never know, because I wish I would say every time I invest I get it right, and we don't. My own fund is predicated on getting it wrong most of the time. We'll have much more failures than successes. Hopefully when the successes take off, they compensate for all the failures. I think the most important thing, if you want to learn an early startup, is a thing called founder's fit, which is, do you think this team is able to capture this opportunity? Are you confident enough, even getting to the first big milestone, that this team can do it? And what do they need in terms of resources and connections and opportunities for that to happen? And if you concentrate just on the first big milestone, then possibly that's where you start.
So that was going to be my my question was which is more important, the team or the concept? And you'll probably say both, right?
It's founders fit. I mean, there's a phrase in investment: "As a great team meets bad market wins."
Yeah.
You know, if a great team has a really bad idea in a really tough market, generally it doesn't work.
So what about the size of the opportunity? So in the U.S., a lot of funders will not look at opportunities that they don't think offer some 10x return or massive market. A valid idea, smaller opportunity, not going to look at it.
There's two reasons for that. There's the way that the fund's own economics work. They're on what's called the 2 and 20 model. They want to own 10% of the company when it exits. They've got to return a third of their fund. When that happens, preferably maybe half, preferably all of it, they have to have a big exit. And they make their money on the exit, not on the management fee. So that's partly that. But also, you've got to look at how you get exits. You invest for what we call liquidity. You invest so you can get your money out for a lot better value than you put it in. And not many people buy SMEs. Not many of you are here waking up tomorrow morning and say, the solution to my company's problem is I buy a company who has a tiny market share, with no real tech, and a £500,000 net turnover. It won't solve your problem. So if I'm looking for a stock that can float, that can get to exit on the stock market, or get someone to buy it, I'm generally probably going to look for those bigger opportunities. Does that help?
I have a short question about the environment, the political and regulatory environment for the difference between, just a short one, the difference between the US view on VC and fund and the EU approach, both on the VC part and also on the kind of entrepreneurship promotion that we see. Because I'm asking that because I've been in a bunch of regulatory sessions where everybody stressed that the US, of course, is much more open into the VC and the investment possibilities, but also the mindset of European entrepreneurs is much more turned toward I shouldn't fail. You know, failure is a problem, and you're not allowed to fail because you don't have a second chance possibility.
Okay,
so,
well, I'll try and answer that in 2-3 ways. One is that there's a wall of money in the States that there isn't in Europe. There are many reasons for that, but probably the main one is they've had exits. If they have exit, it makes sense to invest, doesn't it? Because you get your money back to reinvest. And in Europe, we haven't had the level of exits. So there is, but there's many other reasons as well. There's an interesting way that people don't realize is the largest people who put money into VCs are public sector pension funds, and they're incentivized to do so in the States and they're not in Europe. The largest funder of VCs in the world is the California Teachers Pension Fund. Not many people know that. All those teachers, their money is in the best tech. Our teacher, yeah. So there's lots of basic reasons, but I think your point about European, basically entrepreneurs not basically being ambitious, it is true. We basically at Capital we tell all our startups when they're pitching, imagine you're doing it in an American accent and see how more ambitious you get. Just that little trick. And I also say that the interesting thing is America is a big continent. And if you're in the middle of America, there's no VC. There's no VC in Albuquerque. There's very little VC in Alabama, etc. The thing is that America has concentrated their tech in about 5 to 6 ecosystems. Politically, Europe should do the same, but politically that's incredibly difficult to say that tech's going to happen in Berlin, London, Stockholm, and Paris, and the rest is going to be subsidiaries.
Great, thank you. So if you'd like to step down, and we'll give John a big hand. Thank you. So I'm going to do a quick intro here, and then I'm going to turn this session over to Greg and Great, but I would like to start to say you should be getting an email from Siinda with the online form so that you can also rate our startups and make comments after they present. And I'd like to present our jury here. Of course, you've heard John. And William Pattison, who is a professor at Marketing and Business Finance MBA program at University of New York, Prague. William. And also our social media guy. So Neil Polachek from Board Advisors. And I think a lot of people know Neil. And Louise Lockman from Mono. And I'm going to give Louise, the microphone for you for a minute. Mono is sponsoring this session. Thank you very much. And you can tell everybody why.
Well, thank you so much, Kimberly, and great to be here. So this year we are 10 years in business. We're going to celebrate our 10 years anniversary, meaning that one time we were a startup as well. So I hope to see many of you at our party in Copenhagen, June 1st. Kimberly announced it this morning. There will be a Siinda workshop the same day focusing on sales, and we will do the fun part in the evening. Being an entrepreneur at heart is something that comes with great passion. It comes with a passion to solve a problem that you have identified in the market, and you have set that out to solve that problem. And you were just having the 500 checklist of what really makes a good startup and what makes a good business idea. And the truth is, you can have the best idea in the world. It's not for certain you're going to make it to the finish line. I agree with you that a great team is important. I have 2 partners, business partners. I learned to say business partners because people get really confused when I say, these are my 2 partners, David and Renee, and this is my husband. And we live in Denmark and not in Utah. So anyway, I have 2 really great business partners that are on the product side of things. But even then, when you set up to start a business, you can have a really good idea. And when we, in 2007, launched our software, Mono Solutions, actually back then it wasn't Mono Solutions, it was just mono.net, we set out to help small businesses get a professional website. And we really believe that with the right technology, we could solve that problem. That was our belief because we saw there was a need in the market. We come from an agency background, so we've been in this business since the late 90s, helping large enterprises go online and working in the industry. But what we didn't realize that small businesses in nature are very different than working with large companies. So even though we had great success, we launched August 14, 2007. We got on national TV, very lucky. So we got hundreds of thousands of signups that came to our portal to build a website, and we realized that only very few of them actually succeeded. And that's actually why I'm in this room. I'm very proud to be partnering with a lot of you guys here because you do provide the service layer on top of our platform that is required to help small businesses. And where am I going with this story? I think it's because you can set out to do something, you can identify a problem in the market, but getting it solved, sometimes you need to change your strategy on the way, and you need to be open, and also be open to the people around you. Ask questions, don't be afraid to go out and take advice, and don't go and put your business idea like this, because in essence, there are a lot of people out there to help you. And we're grateful that today, 10 years after, we are working with some of the largest online service providers in Europe, in North America. I think I could say yes to all 3, even the last part about not spending too much money because we're bootstrapped. We only took very little money to set up and open our office in Denver. Is that in the middle of? Yeah, it's the West Coast. So anyway, super excited that we have gone through this journey. And there can be change, there can be bumps, and I think my best advice to all startups, keep believing in your idea, but adjust it on the way to fit the market needs that might also change over time. Because when we launched, a website was a desktop website, then came mobile standalone, then there was social, and things are changing, especially in the digital space. And I think with the machine learning and the capability of using all the content out there that are becoming more and more structured, there are so many things that we need to take into consideration, and we can't put that into a business plan today that will maybe work in 5 years. So anyway, I'm excited to be here, and also, I don't know if that was too long.
No, that's great.
Okay. So yeah, excited to be part of the judging panel.
And we're really happy to work with Mono, and especially in the June 1st 10-year anniversary. So I'd like to invite our startups up here on stage. Everybody, there's 5 chairs. I think we have 5 of you. I'll ask you to scoot this one back a little bit, so without falling off the back, so that we have room. And then I'm just going to give the mic to Steph and Greg, who's going to explain how this works.
Yeah.
Okay?
So we're going to have our startuppers pitching about their business models and ideas. As you will see, we have picked up 4 very different startups, and this is what we like to do at Siinda. Is we are lucky enough to have some different startups sending us their pitches. And you're going to see that it goes into various directions, from verticals to more traditional views, to chat, to things that are completely disruptive to your business. So, Greg, you want to say something?
I'm the eye candy. So you want me to actually say something meaningful, Kimberly?
This was meaningful.
Okay. Well, so each of them is going to have 5 minutes to describe their startup, and then there'll be questions from the judges. And are we going to allow questions from the audience at that time?
So they get about 10 minutes together.
Okay.
Each one, if they do 6 and 4 or whatever.
So put your John Spindler hat on and ask them very difficult questions about their business models.
So the first one we're gonna call is Swami from CChat. So he's gonna introduce you to his business idea.
Thank you. Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm just doing this to mess you up, because that's what happens in real life.
Sure.
So is someone keeping time? Are we having an official timekeeper?
That's usually
Okay.
my job.
Okay.
So.
All right.
Thank you for reminding me, okay?
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. Can you recognize this book still? Maybe some of you. If there's one thing that's falling faster than this book did, it's the revenue it's made for the directory providers, the owners amongst you. But of course, we all know that. Well, here is something that many of you have started realizing. Though this revenue has fallen, your digital revenue has kicked in some cases giving you millions of dollars in digital revenue, making you the top revenue generator for Google, and probably the top 2 or 3rd local search platform in many markets. Yet, when we spoke to about a dozen directory providers to understand what keeps them up at night, 3 things came up. First, they would like to grow their revenue further, but more importantly, grow the margin, which has not been growing as well. Second, in order to do that, they would like to figure out how to rebuild their brand and their platform with the SMEs, instead of selling a la carte services, even if it's digital, which is what they are doing today. And third, with this new evolving theme of chat and AI and commerce and bots, how do they play and how do they come into actually being viable for the next 5-10 years and longer? And that's what we'll talk about today. Essentially, the goal is to identify a really strong technology partner with an out-of-the-box solution who can help digitize your SMEs easily, but on your platform, in your branding. And the 2 people that you see on screen today are experts when it comes to doing that, to building partnerships and building powered by technologies to achieve that outcome. My co-founder, RK, used to manage Intel's data center and cloud business, growing it by $600 million across Asia Pacific at double-digit CAGR. It today powers over 90% of the cloud that we all know. I've been part of 3 startups before, one that had a successful exit, another that is heading towards a potential IPO. And I have a master's and an MBA from MIT. So when we put these experiences together, we can deliver future directory technologies like this. Alexa, ask CChat.
You can connect to a business through CChat. Name a business that you wish to contact.
StarHub.
Please state your message for StarHub.
Top up my SIM card. Are you listening? Top up my SIM card. Alexa, exit. Since we have 6 minutes, I'm going to give one more try. Alexa, ask CChat.
You can connect to a business through CChat. Name a business that you wish to contact.
Singtel.
Please state your message for Singtel.
Top up my SIM card.
How much would you like to top up?
$15.
Your phone has been topped up with $15. Do you have any other command for this business?
Give my data balance.
Your data balance is 2 gigabytes. Do you have another command for this business?
No. Thank you. Alexa, exit. CChat. Powering the digital directories of the future. And what you saw is just the tip of the iceberg. With CChat, a SME can connect all its incoming customer leads from their website, from your directory platforms, web or mobile, from social media platforms or even search engine platforms, all in one single backend to manage, convert them into customers, and transact. And that backend is hosted and owned by the directory provider, which is you. So it boosts your value to your SME while helping them digitize faster. So to talk about how we go to market, I'd like to introduce Mr. Trevor, who is there amongst us today. And he is the MD of Local Knowledge, one of the largest directory providers in the Middle East. And with him, I'm very proud and honored to pre-announce the launch of their platform, Kobi Chat, which stands for SME Chat in Turkish, which will power 800,000 local businesses with conversational commerce in that market, starting this quarter. We are also live today in Singapore with our first directory customer, where they have launched a directory with 100,000 businesses, powering conversation and commerce, both in web and mobile. And we have 3 other markets where we are having enterprise POCs going on, with 1.4 million businesses that those directories service. So why do these players come to us? It's because with CChat, they've realized that they can launch their own branded platform, like Kobi Chat, in the shortest time, with the lowest cost and risk, and with a validated product with a very strong roadmap. And our success is built on theirs. Our SaaS-based revenue subscription model shows that we would make money as they grow. And in conclusion, see, there are 100 million local businesses, as you all know, that are available today, and they're all looking to go digital. They want to connect and transact with all customers like all of us. That is a $36 billion opportunity that exists today, and we have put together a kick-ass team to build the right technology and capture that market. And we have great traction with 900,000 businesses that we are powering just in 4 months since launch. If this journey is exciting to you, come talk to us. CChat.
So, Steph, if Greg can open for questions.
Steph judges. Steph.
Stephanie. I mean,
Sorry.
Kimberly.
Sorry. Kim, that light might be a bit bad, if it can be moved.
Yeah, it's very...
It's straight on the eye, actually. I don't know how. Or put it off. Perfect, thanks. Sorry, yeah.
I get to go first. So one question around localization in terms of the machine learning that you are applying into the chat system. How does that work, and is that easily, localized into the many languages we have here in Europe?
So if you log into kobi.chat, you would see that it's fully in Turkish, and not just the front end or the web portal, but the full back-end CRM, which collects all the conversation, is fully built in the local language. So when we go into a market, we launch in the local language. That same philosophy extends into the bot and into the machine learning piece, which is also why we don't go in with AI as a solution or machine learning as a platform. Because there's a method, like there were conversations earlier about how to rightly capture the data through a channel that you can then apply, at least typically we say 2 years of data or 2 years equivalent of data that you can analyze through a machine learning algorithm before you're able to apply the ML back to deliver a service. So just as an anecdote, how this would work out is in Singapore or Turkey, when we launch the platform, we first have agent-led conversation response with bot assist. And then we move that to bot-led with agent assist. And by then we have enough conversational data to run it through the algorithm. And if we found that, say, 60% of the businesses wanted appointment booking or invoicing, we would train the ML engine on the back end to capture all those intents. And the benefit for the directory provider is now he's just pushing to the same existing SME customer base and booking as a service or invoicing as a service through his platform. So the SME basically says, check, I want that. It starts making money for the directory provider. It starts delivering the service for the SME.
Using service provider channels can be challenging. What's your plan to help the sales rep understand the value proposition you're hoping they will present to the customer?
So we ate the dog food and we played the role of a directory for the first 4 months. That actually helped us to go door to door with the SMEs and kind of understand what they listen to, what they like. For example, we can go and talk about customer experience, but they only care about leads. So talking about using the right terminology is something we learned only by practicing it. So currently in every market, we at least try to go and create sales scripts and everything that's needed for the salesperson to talk more efficiently. The salespeople know how to have a relationship-based conversation. It's more of the digital terminologies that are missing. And the idea is not to make too much of that, but lesser of that. So if I'm not able to explain to the salesperson well, then I think I've failed because the SME is not going to understand that. And we build full sales and marketing collaterals that we hand off, typically, because the idea is to make them go to market fast.
Sorry, I wanted to ask you, how do you plan on converting all of the basically old people and traditional users of these old technologies and legacy systems and bring them onto this that might be overly complicated for them?
You're talking about businesses, right? So there are 3 things that are happening now, and I think that makes the timing very right. First, there is a transition of the traditional businesses ownership moving from the old guys to their children or the younger people. And they want to work with companies which understand that and are able to relate to providing a service to them that way. So there is that happening with some of the SMEs. At the same time, we're not trying to build an app or just an AI engine and give that to a traditional company. We are saying that if you understand just basic web chat and you don't want to have a Facebook page, that's okay. But whatever channels you have for digital, we'll first make it simpler for you to absorb that. And then when you want to adopt more, then we'll make it easier for you. So if you don't have a Facebook page, okay, the directory provider is going to build one for you. And then if you are saying that there's a lot of traffic coming there, but you're not able to manage it, then we'll figure out how to provide that service as a bot and so on. But we don't want to go in with a solution which is digital for a segment which is not able to adopt it. And the reason to go with the directory providers is essentially because they handhold the SMEs. When Google came, it's not like the directory players are dead. Not all of us in this room know that. It's that these players have always existed as a conduit. The point is how easy can we take our technology and give it to them and make it their branding so they can sell it more, better to the SMEs. So, maybe from the audience. If there's
Audience questions?
Okay, quickly for me then. Obviously, tell me what have you learned in the last year since you started this startup?
In the last year?
Yeah, what's the biggest thing that you've learned?
Specific to the directory segment, the one thing that we learned was the SMEs don't care about customer experience, they only want leads. It was massive because there was all of these studies like EY and somebody else coming and saying customer experience, the next big thing, retaining your customer is more valuable than getting a new customer and all of that. But when you go to an SME, that doesn't matter. So your solution should be not about engaging the customer better and keeping them more engaged and all that. It doesn't matter. How do you get leads? How do you convert them fast? That's all SMEs care about. And basically as a company, the other thing that so we are a technology provider. Our DNA is to build the best technology for communication between business and customer. We went out saying this technology can solve the world's problem. So one of the kind of necessary and humbling experiences for a startup is to go from there to rightly figure out who is the actual segment that you're really solving the problem for today. Tomorrow or 5 years from now, Citibank could want the technologies that we are building, but today, who is it that you are really solving the problem for and how best can you deliver that? And that's kind of how I think we have landed where we are with the directory customers today.
Good answers.
Thank you.
Thank you, Swami. So our next startup is coming from a totally different background, if I may say so. We have Daniel and Katerina, right, talking from Equestrian Hub. So who are going to talk to you about verticals in the equestrian sector.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. This is Katarina.
This is Daniel.
And we are the Equestrian Hub. We are a platform that unites all the equestrian communities around the world. Basically a one-stop shop for all the products and all the services that the people around horses need.
Connecting people, horses, and services globally. Maybe you ask why we do all that. First of all, people do things because they have some own issue, so they need to solve own issue. Doing that, they find out they are not alone. There is a huge community which needs to solve the same issue. And this community are equestrian professionals and equestrian enthusiasts. And this is what we represent. Dan was born with a computer already in the crash. So he's a computer IT professional. I am completely enthusiast. I was born with a saddle, probably, in the crash. So I'm professional in equestrian, and he's enthusiast. And this goes to our stories.
Okay, so my story basically started about a year and a half ago. That's me and my daughter Sophie, when we decided with my wife that we should let her learn how to horse ride. And it was very difficult where, in the region where we live around Bratislava, that to actually find a stable. It took us several months to actually find a stable where our daughter could learn to ride. It turns out the stable was 5 miles away from the house, up in the woods. No idea. It's Olympic size. Anyway, so Sophie started riding. Here you can still see her with a biking helmet, because we had no idea what it takes to have a child riding. Now we know there's a helmet, there's a vest and all that. So second thing is, I'm a proud father, I take pictures and videos, show them to Katarina. She starts laughing at me, like, you're teaching her completely wrong. She shouldn't be riding a big horse because she can handle it, like as you can see here. So she goes like, get her to learn to ride on a pony. Like, okay, what is a pony? So, you do your research wherever you can. It has been several months. We still were not able to find a stable that she could learn to ride a pony. Okay.
My story is different. I'm a dressage trainer, I'm a dressage rider, a part of my normal full job, and I have spent many, many days and hours driving around Germany and other countries to find a new horse for myself or for a client, or to compete and to drive to the competition places. And I would end up so many times in the middle of nowhere, because the GPS, it doesn't know the stable. The stable is not in the downtown, it's in the countryside. And I saw, wow, that would be so wonderful if I could have a GPS to bring me there. And then I shared this idea with other friends in the equestrian community, and they said, wow, that would be something really wonderful. So this is something which the community is facing, and this is our solution.
Okay, our solution for this particular problem is EQH Locator. It is, as Katarina says, it is a precise GPS navigation to the businesses where you need to get, but it goes further than that. This is one of our main points of interaction with our client, with the user, and with the community. And therefore, it's not only getting you to that place. It allows businesses to present their information and their services, whatever they are doing. That's basically the businesses at a glance, right? On top of that, Equestrian Hub as a platform is completely location-based. All the data in there are location-based. Most of the services are location-based. So therefore, we have decided, and this is actually coming again from Katarina and her colleagues' experience, you want to know what's happening around. Let's say you have a destination, like Katarina is going to buy a new winning horse, right? So she's traveling, let's say, to Holland. She's to the Netherlands. She's going to buy a new horse. But on the way there, she's sitting in her car with the big thing in the back of the car, and she wants to see what's happening around. So as she's driving through the countryside, she suddenly sees on Equestrian Hub, she sees a pop-up. There's a stable, let's say 20 miles off the highway. And over there is a saddle, a nice new saddle for sale. Of course, she's going to pull over and she's going to go and see that saddle, because that's probably something that she might like. So you see, EQH Locator is a service that allows you to find what you need, but also to find something that you did not know you needed. So therefore, our business model is separated in two different parts. One is the traction building, and as we learned today, it's also about re-engagement and retention. And these are the services that the equestrian community really needs. We already discussed some of the EQH Locator. We have EQH Rate, which is a service which is very important. I mean, we are all used to having ratings on different services, different businesses and all that, and we have seen many of them today. But this goes further. You own a horse. Horses are definitely not cheap, as you're going to see later. And you want to know that when you're putting your horse into a stable, the horse is there most of the day. When you're working, you don't have time to be there. So you want to make sure the place is clean, the horse is taken care of, or when we're talking about the vets, when we're talking about the blacksmiths, you want to know. So therefore, a lot of ratings. Job market, it's another very demanded feature when basically the equestrian community or equestrian businesses, they need skilled people to help them with different tasks. Very difficult for them to find them. EQH horse accounts, this is a sort of idea when we want to bring all the information about the horses up in the cloud. Medical records, trainings, and all that. Then we have tracking system. That's another tool that came to us from the community, and Kat has a story for that.
Yes, actually, a friend of mine bought a second-hand saddle. Normally, these saddles are expensive. It can cost like 5,000 euro. So she went for the second one, and she spent half of it. She went to the saddle maker in Germany to make it polished, repaired. But, she planned a very fancy weekend with a lot of shopping. But you know what happened? She called me. She was arrested by the police because the saddle was stolen prior to somebody else, and she was charged as a criminal. So, she could have avoided having the equestrian services from our platform.
Okay, and then we continue is the social features, something that the community that is together, they want to communicate better. So, and then there's the second part of the business model, and those are the revenues. The first one is EQH Market. These are basically listings for horses, equestrian equipment, the used one we mentioned, and services. We charge per listing.
So second revenue stream is a job market. You can't imagine how many times I was asked, do you know about a good trainer? Do you know about a good groom? So it's definitely a market where people want to spend money.
And the third one, very important as the traction grows, and that is the business partnerships. This is basically when we provide location-based and very curated advertisement for the businesses for basically being able to reach the user base that we have. In terms of the market opportunity, equestrian markets are huge. It's not very well known, but the markets or the sales of horses in cross-border sales, international, that's where we're focusing, are over 2.2 billion euro a year. It's huge. 15% of the global human population is basically involved one way or another in a horse business. This is 1.1 billion people. And some of the horse markets, they represent 14% year-over-year growth.
So I have a question for you. Do you know how much is the price of young horse, sport horse, 3 to 4 year old? One guess, Mr. Patterson, what do you think?
I have absolutely no idea.
So one quick guess.
I would say 50,000.
50,000 euro, dollars, whatever? Dollars. Okay. So if you know about a horse like that, tell me, because I would like to buy that one, If we speak about a good horse, 3 to 4 year old, you have to prepare several hundreds of thousand euro. This horse was sold for 1.5 million euro. And then second question, how much is the price of horse which is on FEI level already, like 10-year-old going to Olympics? Any idea?
No idea.
Okay. This is example of horse which was sold for 12 million euro, and it's quite common.
Okay, so now the current situation of our platform. We have completed a stage 1. That means we have the locator proof of concept. We have gathered 26,000 businesses from 9 launch countries. You can see them. Our locator is covering nearly 2 million square kilometers. Stage 2, we are finishing the rest of the features and the revenue streams.
And then once we have this, we want to go globally. So because Asia, US, Canada, it's a huge market.
Okay, in terms of financials, even we're being very modest in this. We're looking at 1 quarter, maybe 0.5% in the late years of the market. We're becoming basically profitable almost immediately. The markets are huge and the opportunity is there, and there is very little competition and basically no competition which is global or international. And therefore, for the finishing of this stage and the rollout, we are asking for 375,000 euro in terms of investment. So this is, in summary, what the equestrian platform or equestrian hub platform is. Fully location-based, has all the data that we need. It has access to all the businesses that are global. It's truly multilingual, and it's breaking the regional barriers, and it's uniting the community. And I want to stress again, 58 million horses are running around the world. 1.1 billion people are somehow involved with them. We consider this as one of the last truly underutilized assets in the world. Mm-hmm. And when we want to speak about the sharing economy, imagine the potential here.
So this is our team. It's Daniel, it's me, and it's Kimberly as our advisor. So we hope that we inspired you for Equestrian One-Stop Shop. Once you fall in love with our GPS, you can try our advertising, or you can find the best deal for your insurance for your horse, or the blacksmith, or a lawyer, which is specialized in horse law, transportation, insurance company, or you simply come, you socialize, you rate, or you educate yourself.
Thank you.
So you're an advisor and you let them go over. No.
You're going to get it later.
So I feel like, this is akin to the really high-end, like housing market or art market, or these markets where you have to have a lot of money to participate. And so I guess the question is, how do you get those high-end people to engage in your app, I guess, is what it is, essentially, is an app, when I think they're used to either word of mouth or really glossy magazines that, are in the horse industry? How do you change that behavior?
First of all, we will gain traction because of the GPS. It's really something that everybody wants because everybody has the same trouble and they will fall in love with it. So everybody's asking already, when the GPS will be ready. And then, if you have to find a horse, you spend a lot of time searching on different websites, plus you need agent. Usually you spend 20,000 euro for just, to the pocket of the agent, right? So it increased the price of the horse. For example, there are many different things. But this solution, it's a one-stop shop. So you just go to this platform and you find everything. It saves you time.
No, I understand what you're trying. I'm just trying to understand kind of how you turn the behavioral stuff of these obviously very well-to-do people who today do it a certain way, and you're having to evolve their behavior.
Well, we don't necessarily speak only about very wealthy people, There are 1.1 billion people, and some of them I know personally, they earn 1,000 euro, they have their own horse, they would not trade in for anything, so there are a huge scale of many different people. Parents having small kids, they don't have own horse, they need a stable, they need to come for the lessons, so you have many different possibilities.
Okay.
Exactly. It's not only about owning the horse, as was my example. It is, when we wanted to put Sophie to learn horse riding, one of the things that comes to my mind is straight back. Because, it really builds the body of the child, right? And it's nothing to do with owning a horse or, showing off with a, let's say, $10 million horse, right? This is about basically sort of lifestyle or, when we're going to healthy lifestyle and all that, the horses are coming back into fashion. And you would be surprised in villages how many people are, for instance, involved with horses. Yeah. And really, let's not underestimate the 1.1 billion people around.
So we will enable people to get to this information and to these services, basically.
Somebody else want to ask a question?
Thank you, Stephanie. So what we do at Navets, we actually put stables on maps for a living. That's what we do. But my question is, different. You mentioned you were looking for 375,000 euros in funding. Against what percentage would that be? So what kind of equity would you be looking at?
Are you coming for the dinner today? We can discuss.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Last one.
Yes, hello. Your idea with this community seems to be, from first view, is something that somebody could have thought of 10 years ago or 8 years ago. It's not really entirely new to create a community or focused on this up-end market. So what makes you think that nobody has done that? Why has nobody done this before? And why is right now the time that you can actually succeed with that?
Actually, the interesting part here is when we are doing assessments of our competition, especially in different regions that we're looking at, you will always find businesses who are trying to, bank on the products that we have, the revenue products, selling horses, selling services, and all that. But nobody has so far went into the platform when you're offering services for free that are actually doing something for the community.
And it's global, it's not local, yeah? Because usually the websites are very local. And nobody has the GPS. This is something which doesn't exist.
And I would like to point out that the list that you saw first, the traction building, it's services that are actually coming from the community. They are coming to us. and saying, we need this. Why is this not working? Why didn't nobody think about it? Like the lady calling from the prison. That was actually the idea that came to us. A lady calling from the prison that she bought a stolen saddle. So why not use it as a service?
Yeah, people are also complaining about the quality of the services, so when they will be able to rate, it will improve dramatically the quality of services in equestrian community.
Well, thank you very much, Daniel and Katerina. You're going to be around also for dinner as everybody, so you can have direct questions between all of you. Yeah, give you a round. So, I don't know if I need to introduce the next speaker. Yes, I do, but you all know him, but today is here with another hat. And this other hat is, so this speaker that you all know is Paul Plant, and this other hat is presenting you a new startup where he's involved in, which is called Posttag, and probably you guys need to talk together, so.
Yeah, I thought of that. Hello, everyone. Aside from my day job, I get very excited about startups and particularly about what I think digital technology can do to solve some of today's modern problems. So I'm going to introduce you to a startup that solves a really genuine and real problem that has come about as a consequence of this modern digitally driven world in which we live in, where more and more people are shopping online, and more people are having problems with home deliveries, simply because sat-navs and online maps are not exactly precise when it comes to the last mile. So I'm going to introduce you to Posttag. So Posttag is a mobile-friendly navigation tool specifically designed to help delivery drivers get to front doors faster. Here are a few quotes and a bit of background, but the UK is the most developed e-commerce market in the world. 3/4 of the internet shoppers in this, 3/4 of the internet users in this country are regularly shopping online. But as the research from Which says, many of those experience a problem with either a late or an unfulfilled delivery. To give you an idea, Royal Mail figures quote that something like 2 billion parcels are delivered in this country every single month, which is a lot. And even as back as 2014, Which estimated that the cost to British business of late and unfulfilled delivery is around about £500 million. Every company involved in last mile delivery encounters the same problems. We've done our own research, and we've interviewed more than 200 delivery drivers from right across the home delivery spectrum, people with 2 man in a van, Ocado, Amazon, DPD, DHL, UPS, you name it. We've interviewed pretty much all of their drivers, and they all pretty much give us consistent feedback. And those drivers are experiencing pretty much the same problems, regardless of which company you work for. And some of the big insights that we got from these drivers, there are 2 major causes to late and unfulfilled deliveries. One is rural addresses, so remote countryside addresses where a UK postcode can cover an area as large as 1.5 square kilometres. Which means when the pin drops on a map, it doesn't necessarily drop near to your front door. And the other problem here we have is, we spend 6 months of the year where it gets dark around 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening, and with many home delivery companies delivering until 10 o'clock at night, guess what? There aren't that many houses out there who light up their names or their numbers. So it's very hard for these delivery drivers to find you when it's after dark. Other things they tell you is that some houses, or many houses, don't display their names or their numbers. And often if you're out in the countryside and you're in a delivery truck delivering a wardrobe or a new bed or something, and you're in a country lane and you overshoot the address, it can be quite a few miles and quite a lot of wasted time before you can turn your truck around and get back to that household. And another thing we learned from these interviews with delivery drivers is that new house builds, so new housing estates, we have some very big property developers and house builders in this country, companies like Barratt's, Taylor Wimpey. When you build a new housing development, it can be up to 2 years to get those new houses onto a sat-nav or onto an online mapping system. Whereas with our solution, we can put them on there the minute they define where the plot is going to be. So how does PostTag work? You go into posttag.co.uk and you interact with an ordnance survey map. And essentially what we do is we take the lat-long coordinates and we allow the consumer to drag that pin. So our patented technology allows you to interact with that map and drag that pin precisely to your front door. And then what we do is we create a 3-digit tag that effectively makes your postcode front door accurate. The map zooms in, so you can get really, really granular in terms of accuracy. So, you can identify your front gate, your back gate, your front door, your back door, whatever. And once you're happy with where the location of that pin is, you just click the tick symbol, and that then generates the 3-digit post tag, which is then yours for life. You can reuse it, and it's so unique to that address, and you can use it again and again and again. To access a post tag, you just download the Post Tag Maps app from the App Store in either iOS or Android. You then insert the post tag into the system, and then the map appears. And then depending on which system you want to use, whether it be Apple Maps or Google Maps, we provide pinpoint door-to-door navigation from wherever you are right to that very location of that pin. So getting to front doors faster means that more home delivery companies can make more home deliveries per day. We think we can make most home deliveries in this country at least 10% more productive. Fewer late deliveries obviously means much happier customers, and one of the insights we got from Amazon, people want to buy. Former sales managers at Yale is currently head of sales at Amazon here in the UK. And one of the things he told us, it doesn't matter how people rate the products on Amazon, the thing that really pushes the ratings downwards is when the delivery is late. So that's another insight. So happier customers are likely, who get their delivery on time and to the right address, are more likely to post a better rating or review. Happier drivers mean that they're better supported with a better system. Most of them tell us that they don't use the proprietary sat-nav systems that they're given by their employers. And another hidden benefit is obviously the reduced fuel costs for the employer. Has multiple uses. It doesn't just work on front doors. We can tag anything, be it a remote holiday cottage. We can help councils and utilities with raised manhole covers, broken lampposts, pieces of graffiti that need repainting. Even we can help someone like Glastonbury. So if you go down to Glastonbury Festival, where there are something like 20 different entrance gates and sites, we can put a post tag pin on every single one of them, and on the ticket that goes out to the consumer, we can direct them straight to the right entry gate. So we feel we've got a real solution to a real problem. We have a clear route to market, and it's definitely a growing one as e-commerce is growing worldwide. There are multiple applications for it, not just in home delivery and e-commerce. It's a solution that works globally. We've already had interest in Australia, and 1 or 2 other countries have told us that, by God, we need a system like that. And it's an attractive investment opportunity. We're bootstrapped right now. Myself and my co-founder have funded the product to date. We've just signed our first customer. We're going to send our first invoice out tomorrow, so we're rather pleased. So we actually get some money coming into the bank. And we're also exhibiting the product at eDelivery Expo at the NEC in Birmingham next week, so it's quite a big week coming up for us. We've got a good team. Our CTO is the former CTO of Betfair. My co-founder, Keith, was one of the lead creatives for Young & Rubicam, the ad agency. And Paul Human has lots of experience in capital finance. So here's a little video of how it works.
If this digital world is so interconnected, how come some things are still hard to find? Not anymore. PostTag is a revolution in pinpointing anything, anywhere. You think SatNav changed the world? Well, PostTag is a quantum leap. PostTag gets you to wherever you need to be, from the very front door of a delivery address to the correct car park entrance at an event. In fact, anywhere you need to get to, instead of the middle of a field or somewhere up the road. Avoiding costly and frustrating delays, PostTag will get you there with a pinpoint accuracy never seen before. For anyone operating a fleet of delivery vehicles, PostTag's pinpoint accuracy can improve your daily numbers because drivers will arrive at hard-to-find addresses without frustrating delays that can affect your bottom line. In fact, according to Which, the cost to British businesses of late and unfulfilled deliveries was a staggering £473 million in 2014. With PostTag, the customer experience is better, so reviews and ratings will no longer be marked down due to the disappointment of late deliveries. The domino effect of just one late delivery can be bigger than you think. Just ask any delivery driver. We have over 200 of them, and we know that late deliveries can compromise your ratings, probably more than you realise. The possibilities for PostTag are endless. We simply take the postcode and add our tag to it, a PostTag that changes everything. Together with Ordnance Survey and a bunch of clever partners, we're about to change the way people get from A to B, particularly when B is hard to find. Now, for the first time, you can pinpoint anything, anywhere, without having to remember coordinates or clumsy words. Just 3 numbers bolted onto a postcode. It changes everything, and nothing else comes close. Get in touch now, and we'll show you more. posttag.co.uk.
And that's PostTag. Thank you.
I have a question for you. My first question is, how do you get consumers to actually sign up for this, thereby making it an asset? And also, how do you verify those consumers? So couldn't I just sign up for my neighbor or some enemy of mine and give an address in the middle of the forest?
Yeah, you could. At the moment, we're going B2B. So our route to market is through commercial enterprises. Obviously, scaling a business, building a business from consumers up is costly. We are building a social profile, which will bring in consumers and get consumers talking about it. But at the moment, our main route is through commercial licenses.
You never described what the market opportunity is.
Well, it's a very hard market to define. The e-commerce market is currently $3 trillion.
Right, but PostTag's opportunity, and what's the business model? I never saw any money being exchanged.
Yeah, good. At the moment, we offer it under a commercial license. It's basically a pennies per use a model. So a typical cost our first customer is a home builder who realized the opportunity of getting houses on to sat-navs much quicker using postcode, using PostTag. And to them, it's a £15,000 annual contract for something like 40,000 new homes. Bearing in mind, we anticipate a new house will use it something like 50 times a year. That's like 50p per household, something like that.
So it's a big market. It's a really...
So it's a huge market. And
it's a bigly market.
Essentially, the 2 main people we're going after right now are obviously the people who make the deliveries and the online retailers who are having their ratings affected by negative delivery. But it just so happens that our first customer is a house builder.
Okay. Maybe there's a question.
Yeah, right here.
And just while the mic's going to Philippe, we're told that the UK postcode system is the most accurate in the world. So if you think that we've got problems in this country when we've got the most accurate postcode system, think of the potential in markets like Australia, where a postcode can cover several thousand square kilometers. Or South America, yeah.
Hi, Paul. Just on the international trading. So basically, a customer that sends company in UK that sends to Australia, basically he can sign here and get the delivery on, if it is not an international, not UPS. How does it work? The second thing is, have you thought this for companies which use the drones? Is it working?
Yeah, funnily enough, we have talked to Amazon, and they've asked us to come back. Obviously, as you know, Amazon are exploring drone technology here, and the perfect market would be, to give a drone these coordinates and literally just drop. In that case, you wouldn't tag the front door, you just tag the garden or wherever the drone's going to drop on the house. But yeah, the danger we've had of wanting to talk to people like Amazon. Obviously, I have a very good friend, in a senior role in Amazon. The big danger we have of talking to Amazon too early about a technology like this is they'll just, steal it from us and build their own. So we want to build our own market first, and then hopefully they might buy it from us at some point in the future.
Okay, thank you very much, Paul. A round of applause for Paul. And now our final presentation.
Yeah, so we're going to go to another sector and round. So we'll have now talks about Hoxton Analytics. So I guess it is kind of self-describing, but I'll let you go with the description.
Thanks. Here we go, the last barrier between you and the cocktails. So, I'm Will. I'm the CTO and one of the founders of Hoxton Analytics. I'm a data scientist and got a particular expertise in computer vision. My other founder, Owen, is also a data scientist, as are two others of the members of our 6-strong team. So John's ears should be picking up at this point. As founders, we also have commercial experience. So I used to be a strategy consultant, and Owen used to work for PwC in valuations. So as analytics people, you'll understand this. Online retailers for years have been optimizing everything their shoppers are doing. They know who's coming in, how they're coming in, where they're coming from. Most importantly, they know the ROI of influencing these people to buy more stuff. And therefore, they've been performing much better than physical retail, who don't know any of this stuff. But you should be able to get to this stuff. You should be able to know, if I change my shop front, what impact is that having on people? What's the ROI of doing that? What should I be showing? To do that, you can measure the same things, footfall, conversion rates, all this sort of stuff. But it's very difficult. It's so difficult that a lot of companies trying to solve it are using really invasive techniques like facial recognition, mobile tracking, stuff that in the new regulation is going to prove really difficult as it comes in, and in the EU is really tough already. So we've solved this problem. We've solved this problem how? Well, uniquely, we can get all this data by literally looking at the footprints. This is actual footfall. We've developed algorithms that identify shoes. We use that, we link the observations together so we can count people. We then take these images that we extract, pull out some basic demographics about people, so their gender, who else are they with, are they in groups, some basic style information about the shoes they're wearing. This is incredibly accurate, and I'm able to audit it all in real time as well, because I can send this video to manual counters around the world, and they can check it all, and I can feed that to my clients. It's all based on standard cameras, so you just need to install a basic camera. Unique about our system as well is that you can point these cameras outside the stores, so we can get that first line of traffic going past the store, how many of those people are coming into the store. On the right here, you may recognize this building, big dinosaur in the background. But that's a Cisco camera, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. So it's obviously very relevant for retail, high street retail, shopping centers. But in terms of addressable market, it's huge. There's also property estates. Anyone who's got a physical space and wants to know how that's being used. We've got POCs in transport hubs. We've done some smart cities work with Cisco. I just wanted to talk to you particularly about one case study that we've done recently with a FTSE 100 shopping estate owner. So they came to us because they didn't trust the footfall that they were getting from their previous provider. I ran my system alongside theirs for a couple of months, got it audited, proved it was significantly more accurate. So we then moved into a 3-year contract on the same pricing model they were having before. And on top of that, I was able to give them all sorts of extra data around gender and demographic information about their shoppers and how they were using that site. They're now installing us in 3 more locations right now across their portfolio. And with a view, we're continually pitching for more. And this is what they had to say about us. So they love what we're giving them. This is an example of one of the dashboards we give them. So you can see at the top is the accuracy. So I report our accuracy in a completely transparent manner every week. And they use this to optimize. They've optimized their leases off the back of this. And they've looked at how their marketing is performing. This is the revenue model. We're completely, interestingly, we're a software-only play. So we're using Cisco and other resellers. We use off-the-shelf hardware. We use resellers to install that and do all the maintenance. The client pays that hardware cost up front, and then they just pay us £1,000 per camera a year as a software fee. And that gets all the data. So that's what we do at the moment. Now just let me talk to you a bit about the vision and where this could go. So our biggest competitor right now, the market leader in retail analytics, is a company called Retail Next. And they use facial recognition on the top of CCTV cameras. Ooh. Okay, we hit a bit of a limit there. I'll talk you through it. So they use facial recognition on the top of CCTV cameras to essentially map out fully a retail store and where people go and where people pause. We want to do exactly the same. We want to develop a cheap hardware unit that you can install everywhere all around the store and map out that floor level. So you get the full path to purchase of someone, when they come in, where they pause, what they interact with. We'll link it up with the tills so you get what they purchase. You can then do what online retailers do, full A/B testing, ROI, change something, what does it do? How does it impact those customers? And then feed that full through to the clients in real time. So finally, just a couple of things to note. We've had a lot of press lately. We were on the front page of the BBC last week. I don't know if any of you saw that. That's worth checking out. And we're raising right now. So we're raising a £1 million seed round. Come and talk to me afterwards if that's something that might be relevant. Thanks very much.
Hi, I have a question for you. You mentioned that your system is, 98.3% effective, and that's your accuracy. And I'm just wondering, how on earth can you tell how accurate your system is unless you have somebody there who's physically watching and counting every single footfall for the entire video?
Well, we don't have people counting every single one. But what we can do is take that video, and I take from every unit we have installed, I take about 10 minutes of video every day. I send it to someone who manually counts it exactly as you said, feed that into my system, and report that back to my client. Now, we wouldn't guarantee 98.3% accuracy all the time. That just happened to be that week. But we would guarantee 90%, and it is always above 95.
I hope you don't mind if I follow up.
Yeah.
I just had a question. Besides identifying the numbers of people, whether they travel singly or in groups, their potential style and their sex, what else can you tell from this?
I'd argue that's quite a lot. But we don't know yet. We keep pushing it all the time as to what additional demographic information you can get from people with regards to their shoes. I've seen human studies where people have identified people's wealth, even their political status, relationship status from shoes. But where it gets really interesting is what I started to talk about at the end, is when you link numerous cameras together and you get what that exact path to purchase is, and you know where they're pausing, and you can start to behaviorally segment people. Then when you map it on to purchase behavior, I can suddenly link types of shoes with what they're buying. And then I have this rich segment about people, and I don't need to worry so much about grouping them by demographic. If I know roughly what their sort of purchase behaviors and shopping behaviors are, then I know how to target them.
What will you learn in the summer when everybody's wearing flip-flops?
Well, I think not.
I mean, I'm serious. I mean, in the U.S. In the U.S. in the summer, in a place like Los Angeles, everybody wears flip-flops.
So we actually installed in Australia, which is probably even more significant, and they challenged us there. But not everybody does, but still a lot of the insight comes from how many people are coming in, where are they going. There's a lot of information we can still get from size of the shoes that they're wearing.
Size of their feet, size of their... No, sir, I think you can actually learn quite a bit. Size of their calves.
Well, wait, yeah.
But that's a big indicator of shopping intent. Calf size has been correlated positively with basket size.
I'm not being facetious. I think there's a ton you can learn that way.
Yeah,
actually.
there still is.
Yeah.
And as I keep going back to it, it's still that observational data about what, you've got multiple cameras, so you know where people are going, you still know where they're pausing, you can still identify families and couples and that sort of thing. So yeah, even if everyone was wearing the same shoe, there's still a lot of information there, but people don't wear the same shoe.
Why not identify pants?
So the story why we even got onto this idea was my co-founder's idea, and he was thinking, how can you passively get information about people without breaching their privacy? So his initial idea was pointed at their bodies. It's very difficult to point it at someone's clothes without catching their head, but also it's a bit weird if you start pointing cameras at midriffs. And he just got down to shoes. No one minds about shoes. It's very... I don't want to be associated with it. But yeah, shoes, it's much more easy. You know, you get cameras across the floor. That's all you capture. Nobody minds about shoes. And there's still a lot of information you can get there.
Yeah. I would just have a comment, is that you can arguably say that a body is also part of your privacy. So I think you're wise, just to... not to move into that.
Yeah, I'd agree. But the key, from a legislation point of view, the key is often, is it uniquely identifiable? So can you identify someone by that information? So face is, mobile phone is, but shoes or body probably wouldn't be.
Very interesting.
Any questions from the audience?
I have one more question, if you don't mind. What is the weakness comparing this to facial recognition? What's the difference in what we can figure out?
So, obviously, there is, if you get a perfect view of someone's face, it's obviously richer data that you can get from that. There's something we're always going to struggle slightly with: age, ethnicity. So there is richer data there. We have actually discovered that we're more accurate than facial recognition in terms of gender, because there's a huge problem with facial recognition in the real world, which is that people don't look at the cameras, people wear stuff on their faces. It's a very difficult problem to solve, and so it doesn't work very well. Whereas where shoes are is a lot more reliable, we get a lot better view of the shoes, and they move a lot slower. So in the information we can get, it's a lot cheaper and easier to get. But yeah, obviously, if you just look at the two, the slight weakness is that there's richer data in the face. But that's also the weakness in that it's personally identifiable, and that's where they will come into legislative issues in the way that we won't.
All right.
So thank you, and once again, I think this is a really fun session because it's really nice to see the creativity that's going on, the entrepreneurship that's going on. So thank you all for being so brave to stand up here today, and I hope most of you will be joining us for dinner this evening, and so we have a time to chat. Okay, and at that, thank our jury here very much, and please try to fill out the questionnaire that you got online because it gives our startups some feedback. And at that, I'd like to close today and once again thank our partners and our exhibitors and our sponsors. We have a great evening this evening. It's at the Swan Theater at the Globe, okay? So we will be meeting at about 6:45 in the lobby for the first group to walk over there. We are walking, it's about a 10-minute walk, 10, maximum 12 minutes, Paul. Yeah, you think it's less, I think it's more, but okay, depends on the kind of shoes you have
Depending on your shoes.
Yeah, so we're going to meet about 6:45 because we should be there around 1900, 7:15 between. So there are also maps if you want to try to find your way yourself. They're at the registration desk, or if you want to walk with a group. The evening starts with a small museum tour from the Shakespeare Museum, which is really, really very interesting. And then, as usual, we always have our little Siinda surprises. So you'll just have to wait and find out. So meet us in the lobby, and we'll see you then, and have a good hour. Okay? Thank you.
The time has come.